Welcome to the PVN College podcast, where our goal is to grow students in the love and knowledge of Jesus Christ. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how friendships change after college, how to embrace that change, and how to keep the right people in your life. Our guest today is Michael Cornelius. Michael is a graduate of Georgia Southern University with degrees in Spanish and business management. He is the elementary and middle school PE teacher at Perimeter School in Atlanta. He's also the 7th grade boys basketball coach and operations manager at Ignite Sports Academy. Michael, welcome to the podcast, man.
You make me sound so much busier than I actually am with my life. Thank you.
Well, and the one thing that I was going to put in here too, I would definitely call you our friendship expert, our resident friendship expert, because my brother and I were talking about this too. I think, Michael, you have more friends than anyone I have ever met in my life. And this is true. For those who are listening, Michael is one of these guys that when you go to a wedding or to like whatever, a church service or the grocery store or the DMV, everyone looks at him and is like, yeah.
The DMV is miserable.
Anywhere. So. Not with you in it, though. Not with you in it, Michael. Everyone's like, ooh, I want to be his best friend. Lockdown best friend for sure. You do. You have so many friends. And I think that is part of what makes you so helpful for us as we talk about friendships today. How they change when you become an adult. And I think you and I have a little experience with this because you're not just like some random expert guest. Although you are those things, but you and I have been friends. So lightning round, this was not in the email that I sent you. How long have you and I been friends? Since when? You don't have to, there's not going to be a quiz.
Right. So I couldn't tell you what year 7th grade was for me because I can't do that math in my head right now. I'm sorry, 8th grade.
8th grade. Yes.
8th grade, middle school, Wesleyan School in Norcross, Georgia.
Right.
It was Ryan Matherly's first year at Wesleyan, my second year. We're both entering into this private school atmosphere and just I'll say specifically, you really do start to click with the friends who you just laugh the most with. Mm-hmm. And I would say like that was the spark of our friendship. I mean,
yes.
For those who are listening who will listen, Ryan Matherly, and he's heard this too many times before, is just like the funniest, like charismatic, sure, but like even in the charisma just finds a way to like make you laugh. And I'm too goofy of a person to not have my daily laugh. So
amen.
Yeah.
I think, and man, that would be a good shout out to self-care. Be sure you get the daily laughs in as best you can. Now I have to ask you, so we've been friends since 8th grade. And so now how old are you? How old are you?
I'm 30.
So you're 30. Yeah. So you're 30 and I'm 31. So this friendship has been going on for almost 2 decades. Is what it looks like, which is absolutely insane.
Crazy.
Which is absolutely insane. But I do, and we've been friends. So 8th grade, we've been friends technically in middle school and in high school and in college, and now after college. But I think each one of those periods is a little bit different. But now that you're out of college, it is especially different. Now, before we go on, for those who are listening, you can't see, but we actually have a third guest with us. Can you introduce now for those who are watching on YouTube later, who is this third guest, Michael? Tell us about this person.
YouTube
not a person.
Viewers, this is Zoe, I guess technically last name Cornelius.
Yeah.
And she turned 2 years old this past Friday.
Zoe is a dog, by the way. The people listening are going to think that's your daughter. Zoe is a dog.
This is only audio for some people. That's funny. Yes, a dog is sitting on my lap. She is about 28 pounds, and I'm in her world rather than me or her being in my world. Like she trains me. She takes me for walks.
Nice.
I'd like to think that this is preparation for one day a child, but it has been a ride for sure. But I love her to death, of course, and she is here unofficially a service dog, keeping me calm and
very cool.
Things.
Very cool. Very cool. So, okay. So we've talked about, we've met your dog. So now, I mean, the big hump has been jumped over. So, okay, this wasn't really in the list of questions that I sent you either, Michael, but I think it can help. And that's intentional. I just want us to chat about this for a second.
Sure.
You've already said laughter is key too. What makes a good friendship? So before we even get into adulthood and what that looks like in college, just friendship in general, as you think back on friends that you have, close friends that you have, what makes a good friendship? Like, what makes a good friendship?
Yeah. I'd say first thing that comes to mind is just kind of knowing what makes a person tick and being able to, gosh, I feel like that's an old man statement, so I'm going to revise that. Making a person tick, what gets their motor going, how you can feed off of each other's energy. And then, the more mature answer is just kind of like understanding where somebody's at, and then coming alongside them and being able to help that person develop. And that's in any category, spiritually, socially, even academically, a study partner, just being able to come alongside somebody. That's what I'd say is a key to companionship.
I think back to, like, as you were talking about just like figuring out like what that person likes, what makes them tick. I think back to like when we were in high school, like obviously we did fun things, but like to me, my favorite, and even in college, my favorite times, and I just feel like that a lot of students would share this, even because like, we're millennials, most students in high school, college are more Gen Z, but I think something that one of the few things maybe that we have in common is I meet so many students who say that their favorite thing to do is just like sit around with their buddies in the living room. You know what I mean? Like, and just like rag on each other and just like joke around and like that. Those are my favorite memories. I don't know if I don't want to speak for both of us, but like I'm taking the head nod as a pretty encouraging thing. But like those are my favorite. Can you just go on that for just a minute? Those are my favorite memories in high school and college, I think.
Yeah, it's like, you have your social gatherings, you have your similar interests, you might enjoy the same sport, play the same video games, but those times where you can just sit, no pressure, just talk about who the heck knows what, and just kick it with your buddies, like that's where it's at. And those, the most fond memories are honestly made in those moments as well.
Yes. So. Yeah. Well, and you said it, I think, again, your expertise are showing, you said it, like no pressure. I think another key to friendship is you can't force it. Like you just can't do it. Like you can't, it's like you picture in the TV show, the dad is like, we are going to have family fun today. Well, now you've blown it. Like you can't do it. That's the key is like, can you find those people that there is no pressure and you can just relax and enjoy laughing together and hanging out. That's huge. So we like, I think that's a huge blessing from God that we have that. And we've been friends, like I said, through middle school and high school and college. And I'm sure there are people listening who have friends that they've been friends for just as long as we have, if not longer. But what's interesting is once you get out of college, at least for us, once you get out of college, that friendship changes some in some different ways. So how does friendship change? And a lot of our listeners, I feel like, are probably college students. And so they're maybe on the cusp of some of this about to happen, if that makes sense. So how does, maybe like if a student asks you like, okay, I have this group of buddies in college, we're very close, but like the real world is coming. So how do friendships change once you graduate college? What does that look like?
Okay, twofold, right? On one hand, I would say, the friendship, the bond that you have with said person, it doesn't change, right? You might form memories, and those memories are there forever. You will always have that special way of communicating with said friend. You share laughs with said person. let's see, I've got notes here.
Do it.
You form your longest lasting memories. Like I said, you get to spend time with your buddies, whether that's going to sporting events, gatherings, staying up till 3 a.m., all those things.
Yeah.
You know, those memories you make with your friends during your 4 or 5, sometimes 8 years for people in college are going to stick with you forever.
Yes.
But the one thing I'll say is that the dynamic of the friendship will change. And like you said, you know, the real world is coming. And one thing that college sort of indirectly does for you is I'll say it teaches you to kind of organize and prioritize your time. Like on a Wednesday morning, you might wake up, you go to class, and by the time you walk out of your last class, you look up and you have an entire college campus at your disposal with all your friends, all there within the same like 2 to 3 mile range.
Yeah.
But the dynamic of the friendship after you graduate changes because, you know, where will my work now take me? Where am I going to have to pay rent? Where am I, you know, what is life going to look like for me? And so which church am I going to invest into once both of those things are settled? And those are, of course, you already know I'm 30 years old. Those are still things I'm trying to figure out to this day.
Right.
So,
yeah. Some of that never goes away, and that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so the friendship itself doesn't change, but I would say that the dynamic does because you're not seeing that person every day after school or however often. You know, you might live in different cities. You might, you know, whatever you studied in college, that might take you down different paths than that other person. So I would say the dynamic does as far as the environment you're in and how often you're around that person, but the actual bond you have with that person does not change. And that's just something I want to say at the end, just to, you know, keep people encouraged is that, you know, the bond you have with that person, it can't really be broken unless one of you, of course, decides to
hates the other one.
I don't want to be your friend anymore. So bye.
No, that is, and that's what I wrote down. So we'll look at I'm going to answer it kind of on the reverse, the exact same thing, just flipped it on the other side. So yeah, you mentioned, the friendship itself maybe doesn't change, but like location changes, right? Like we could spend, we lived together for a lot of college, and like you could literally, you know, you get home from class on Thursday, maybe you don't have class on Friday. And so I am literally going to see you for like the next 52 hours. You know what I mean? Like in the same house, in the same room, or you could just, you know, we could just hop over to, you know, Gerard's apartment or whoever that was. And like, we can just go see them. They're 5 minutes away. Both of us have, so location change is one thing that impacts the friendship. And then the other thing, schedule change, right? Like, you know, basically we both have class and then we both get out of class.
Yes.
And then we're both free, or we both have the same intramurals that we're playing or whatever.
Yes.
Well, with the schedule change, like you may be free off of work, but I need to go home and like see my wife and that sort of thing. Or I'm on the road right now, so I'm going to call you, but you're at work because I'm a pastor. So we have different hours.
Sure.
Like, so the schedule change, the location change can lead to some of those less frequent communications. You're not jammed into the same apartment or the same dorm room anymore. And the other thing that I would say too, that changes dynamics a lot when you get out of college is marriage. Because like your friends, like that's kind of your close circle. But then when you get married, there's this new person, be it a husband, be it a wife, there's this new person who, biblically speaking, is supposed to take priority, right? Not in a bad way, not in an oppressive way, like, but it's just a life thing. Like that changes. Yeah, in a healthy way. Yeah. And it's just, so it's that dynamic changes, but to your point, which I think is so true, the core of that friendship remains the same. Like, and I think once you get out of college, you'll really start to see just how strong or not that core was and is. Like, I think the core, like you said, Michael, the core of that friendship is what determines, okay, I haven't seen Michael in a year and a half and I bump into him at, you know, the Georgia Aquarium. How quickly can we turn this back into what it was? You know what I mean? that core, the core of what we've already developed feeds into that, right? Determines how quick and how good we can get things back again. And I don't know, different doesn't mean, well, we'll get into that in the next one. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But so yeah, I think you're exactly right, man. So just to let's rewind and be sure I've got everything, and then you just any other 2 cents before we get into the next question. So the dynamic does change. Location changes, schedules change, new people come in and out of our lives, which affects that friendship. But the core of the friendship is something that remains unchanged. And that, I think, can be the strength of it. Is that right? Is that
For
fair?
sure. And I want to add too, it's, and we don't want to underestimate as well how much people just change. People develop.
That's right.
You go through college, and again, that's your 4 to 6 years of just kind of, you just picked a major, but you're also like experiencing so many things for the first time and just growing as a person. And, all the sad things, people do grow apart. People start to form different beliefs, but it's also an empowering thing in college to kind of decide, okay, this person's going to be worth it for me. This person is someone that I'm going to choose to invest in and continue to build a friendship with. And so with that now being part of your core, you can kind of maneuver through life's obstacles, knowing that you still have that person's best interest at heart. It's still, I might go on to do this thing that is totally different from how we used to behave, but we're still friends at the end of the day, and we still have something that we can come back to and say, well, this is what we enjoy and we like to watch this. Kind of rambling, but
still have that. No, you're among friends. Well, that's why we're friends, because we both just don't shut up. So that's a good thing we have in common. Well, and so this is what I was going to ask for. So this is question number 2. And this is kind of the deeper. So friendships do change. And I guess the way to ask it is that okay? Is it okay if friends don't talk as often as they used to after graduation? Plus, minus, neither? What does that look like? Is that okay?
Okay, yeah. I'm going to read what I wrote first, and then I'm just kind of start rambling again. So
place to start.
I would say it's a reality. Like you asked if it's okay if friends don't talk as much. Sadly enough, it's a reality. Before you graduate, it's just reality that everyone's schedule is more in sync. Like you said, you get off of class, I can just pop in so-and-so's house, hang out. People sort of follow the same routine. I'm here because I have to go to class and get my education. And once that's done for the day or for the week or for the semester, you and I and whoever can go hang out, be fun, all those things.
Right.
But again, once the real world, once the job hits, once the moving happens, reality sets in, and you have to prioritize your time, and you won't have that same capacity, that same schedule to, stop by the friend's house or, do the same things that you used to on a Friday night. So yeah, it's totally okay. It's sad, but it's all it is. If you want to look at it like glass half full, all it is just leaving more opportunity for like betterment to just develop like as a person.
Yeah. No, well, I think one of the things so just being aware that it's coming is so helpful. Like, because I think that's one of the hardest things about getting out of college is we have had our lives scheduled for the last 22 years in a row, right? Like everything has been planned out. And then all of a sudden you just kind of walk off that cliff and it's totally up to you. And now you're getting, work schedule, spouse, et cetera, et cetera. All these things are changing that no one told me, oh, wait, I'm not going to get to talk to Michael and Welby and Will and Ben and Gerard. Like, I'm not going to be able to talk to these guys as much as I used to. And you can start to feel guilty because it's just come out of nowhere. And now, oh my gosh, it's been 3 months, it's been 6 months, it's been a year. What am I going to do? but you said it so well, Michael. Is it okay? Is it not okay? Well, it's a reality. This is how life works,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is what's going to happen, jobs and stuff. But you also said it right too. Part of it is a good thing for several reasons. Like part of it is it encourages growth. Like you change so much when you don't have this circle around you, and now you kind of have to make your own way, make your own decisions, grow as a person. And that may not happen to some people who stay surrounded by that circle too tightly their whole life. And it's one of those things too, like, I think there's a lot of good that comes from it, because like I said, you get to grow into who you are going to become. But yeah, I mean, it can lead to some loneliness. Also, like once you graduate out of college, unless you just get the exact job that you're looking for, a lot of times you're working with people who are much older than you. And so now your peer group is not peers. It's people who are way older than you. So that loneliness can sink in. So I guess it kind of leads into the third question. So the first thing to understand is being aware that this is coming, being aware that friendships do change. That will help. It's going to help because you won't be blindsided. You know what I mean? Like it'll help, but also, yes, you're going to talk less. And that's part of, I think that's part of that friendship maturing as well. Mm-hmm. Like you and I don't have to talk every day to still be good friends.
Yes.
Just because we don't talk every day doesn't mean we're not good friends. Our friendship has not, maybe the best way to look at it, I don't even know if this is fair. You tell me. It's not that and when I say I don't necessarily mean you and me, though I could, but like our friendship hasn't lessened. It's just changed. Yeah. And those are not the same word. Does that make sense?
I 1,000% agree. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing that students, I think, can be encouraged by is just because your friendship changes doesn't mean that it's lessened, but it can have detrimental effects, right? Like the real world comes in and it really does have detrimental effects on friendship. So the last question, Michael, what are 2 steps to take to ensure that you keep healthy friendships after college? What are 2 things that students can do to hopefully maintain some of these friendships?
Okay, yes. Before I answer that, I want to piggyback off of one of the last things you said while the thought's still in my brain. It's like also, for anyone individually, like think about, if you're a college student, think about how much energy and growth went into, okay, I was at this high school, now I'm going to this college. I made such close high school friends. Like, what's going to happen with them? Am I going to get to talk to them? And then you look up 3.5 years later and you've made these awesome, close college buddies. Take that, or I guess this is one of the steps, unofficially, take that same energy and just know that you can apply that for the rest of your life. If it is, a situation where you're like, college gave me this easy in to talk to so-and-so, there are so many outlets to put that same energy into after you graduate college to make the same good group of friends. Of course, it's not as easy. Of course, you're not, literally jammed into a classroom with your peers. Like you said, it might be a work environment, or it might be, gosh, I don't know what grownups do, but
that's right. That's right.
What I mean. but just again, to be encouraged that like, you've already done it. You've already graduated high school and made a good group of friends. You can graduate college and then do this same sort of thing.
Yes. Oh, that is such a good point. Such a good point. Like, it's funny. The closest, because when you graduate college, there's this panic button of like, what am I going to do now? Well, what I forgot that you reminded me is the last time I hit that panic button was senior year of high school.
Oh, I remember you personally hitting that panic button.
Okay, because I don't. I was just using an example, but so.
Oh no, it's not coming to my mind right now. But it was some like phrase you would always say. You were like,
man.
"What are we gonna?" Oh man, it's making me so mad. I can't think of it.
Well, you're talking about when we would always. Oh, When we were like in 8th grade, and you're like, "I'm not ready for high school, man." And then like we were juniors and it was like, oh my gosh, man, I'm not ready for senior year of high school. And then it's like, I'm not ready to be 45. Like
I dare say it. I dare say it was like every year from ninth grade on, you would, and I felt it. I was right there with you. I was just like, I don't know what that's going to happen. Like, are we going to start driving? Like what?
Right. No. Well, and I think you hit on something that's so important is like the same, like you have the panic button kind of deal going in high school, and then you go to college and everything's okay. Like everything's going to be okay. And then things are okay. And then you graduate college. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? It's like, whoa. Remember, you went through this exact same thing at the end of high school and you made it and you had friends and you thrived and God was good. It's going to be the exact same scenario here. It may just take a different approach. So that's what, any other thoughts on this last question, Michael, before I jump in a little bit? 2 steps to take?
No. I kind of said it before, but just again, when you go through college, you unofficially like learn how to schedule and plan out things. I have to go to class from 9 a.m. to 12, and then I'm part of this social club, 1:30 to 4:30, and blah, blah, blah. That's just that's a useful skill to bring with you out of college to say, okay, the same way I'm like prioritizing this, these people are important parts of my life. I'm going to set aside time, or I'm going to prioritize making sure that like at the simplest form, just letting them know I care about them and checking in on them, you know, just finding ways to communicate with the people that are important to you. And it could be something as simple as like, tell me what's going on, you know, in your life. Tell me what happened today. There is a little bit of like, I'll say this for like me personally, there's a little bit of like an ego check, right? Like I feel like some people, if it has been a while, it's like you're afraid of like the awkwardness of just the small talk and all that. And one thing I've learned is just like, these are your best friends, right? These are your friends. Exactly. There's no harm done. I mean, how could it be harmful, right? There's no harm done in just checking in on your friend. And then, like you said before, you kind of learn how strong that core friendship was. If you're not getting the response, if it turns out that, you know, it's not something that's worth salvaging, then you kind of learn early on. And again, sad reality, but at least you know.
At least it's natural. Yeah. It just kind of fades on its own. It's not like there was this harsh. Well, and man, you said it so well. You made such a good point that I'm going to change one of mine and replace it with what you said. Don't be afraid of small talk. Like that has blocked me so many times because I'm like, man, Michael and I have been friends for almost 20 years. I don't want to just call him for 5 minutes and like, hey dude, like, how are you doing? But like, I'm only going to talk to Michael if I have 6 hours on the road by myself, which never happens. Right. and so I'm like, I'm not going to call him for 5 minutes. I'm not going to call him for 5 minutes. I'm not going to call him for 5 minutes. But now it's been 3 weeks. But what if we had chatted for 5 minutes for most of those days? Well, there's your 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like that was the big thing for me was I can't call Welby. Welby is one of my best friends. I can't talk to him for 2 or 3 minutes. Well, don't. And what you're saying that I'm hearing is don't be afraid of that. Like, don't feel like that's going to weaken. The thing that makes friendships weaker, I feel like, is the lack of communication. And some of that is necessary because our world's just changed, like we've talked about. But work to minimize that. And this, I think, is where social media comes in handy too, where like there's nothing wrong with finding something funny on the internet and sending it to 3 of your friends that you haven't talked to in a year. If anything, could be the thing that gets it going again. So don't feel like you have to have some deep life-changing moment in order to talk to your friends. Like text them or use that 5 minutes on the road just to call and say like, hey, you know, just wanted to say, hey, like, you don't have to have a reason. They're your best friends. And I'm talking to myself like, oh, there's no need, you know, man, Corny's got a job. I can't talk to him right now. He's got, well, but maybe that's exactly what he wants to hear, or needs to hear. And like, so make the effort.
It can never, ever hurt to reach out. I mean, how could that hurt?
So true. Yeah. Oh no.
What's he doing?
Yeah. Oh no, I shouldn't have reached out. I reached out. I can't believe. So don't be afraid of small talk. And the other thing too, and this is where it's spiritual for a second. I think putting your friends on your prayer list is one of those things where even if you're not talking to them, right? If you're not talking to them directly, they're still on your mind. Like that way, I'm afraid that they're just going to pass out of my mind and I'm going to forget them. Like, well, this is one way to help keep them at the forefront of an important part of the day. So I guess those are my two is don't be afraid of small talk and put them on the prayer list. Thoughts on those things? Last finishing thoughts on those things?
I'm going to read my second step notes part. And then, So I said, pray for them. There's like 8 A's in that. Pray for them. And I said, it's cliche, but we should never underestimate God's power and what he is able to do for our friends. Find out what it is they're going through and what they could use via prayer, and then talk to God about them. Yeah. And then in all caps, I wrote, that helps maintain companionship.
Right. For sure. Right. So true. And to your point too, like, I think sometimes if we have friends who aren't believers, maybe we're like, oh, I don't want to like push them away. But like, I don't think I've ever asked anyone, can I pray for you? And they've been like, oh no, you know what I mean? Like, oh, why? Gross. That's awful. Like, even if they don't believe the same thing that you believe about Christ, like they won't be able to say like, oh, how hateful of you. If anything, it's hateful to do the opposite, right? To not ask or to ignore that impulse. Like, I think it shows
caring for someone is like a godly characteristic, and no one's gonna dislike. No friend of yours is going to dislike that you care for them.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Man, this was awesome, Michael. What a privilege! So much wisdom. First of all, so much fun. But dude, we really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us today, man.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me. This was fun for sure.
For sure.
And Zoe enjoyed it as well.
Good. Well, that's my main concern. So, well, good. For more information on this topic, message us on Instagram at PVN College. Listen to the PVN College podcast through Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Watch this podcast on Instagram TV at PVN College or on our YouTube page, Pleasant Valley North. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.